sorry it took so long to get these out, but I had to see Clash of the Titans, and then my modem broke, so I wasn't able to get these up as fast as I wanted to. So now I have 3 movies to review. She's Out of My League, Repo Man, and Clash of the Titans. I'll start with She's Out of My League. This movie stars Jay Baruchel and Alice Eve as 2 mismatched 20-somethings trying to deal with their friends telling them that since they look completely different, their romance will never work out. Imagine Knocked Up minus the pregnancy angle, and you have this movie. It's an Apatow-style comedy that deals with the issue of image as it relates to romantic relationships. It's pretty naive in that regard, but the movie is warm-hearted, and I'm kind of a cynic, so I can't really fault it there. The good news is that the movie is definitely funny most of the time. Sometimes it feels like it's reaching or trying to start a new trendy catchphrase, but mostly it stays on track. Baruchel and Eve have great chemistry and are actually believable in their roles despite their difference in appearance. I'm kind of easily pleased with Apatow-style comedies, though. And while this is certainly on the lower end of the spectrum with those movies, I still really enjoyed myself. It was a light, fluffy, fun time at the movies. 3 stars. Repo Man. This stars Jude Law, Forrest Whitaker, and Liev Schreiber as employees of a company that has perfected manufactured organs and then sells them at exorbitant prices. If you don't make your payments, the Repo Men come and take your organs. Wait. This sounds familiar. Didn't this movie already come out a couple years ago as a gothic rock opera called Repo the Genetic Opera? A now cult film? I mean, yeah, it sounds just like it. I loved that movie, and while Repo Men is based on a book that came out in 2003, Repo the Genetic Opera was a stage opera since 1999, so don't take that route telling me that the book came before the Repo the Genetic Opera movie. I've done my research. Repo Men is a ripoff. But it also rips off a bunch of 80s sci-fi movies, most notably Blade Runner for the setting and Brazil for the ending. The major action sequence near the end is a near-carbon copy of a famous scene in Old Boy, which is a Korean thriller. With all these influences, it's easy to dislike this movie as an original work. But it takes the influences from a bunch of good movies, so it ends up working as a sort of sci-fi Tarantino film. One that is such a mix-mash of other films in a couple different genres that it feels like worship. But in terms of story, acting, and character development, it's pretty subpar. In fact, some of the plot holes are so egregious that it stops the film's moralizing dead in its tracks. But it stands firmly as a brain-dead guilty pleasure, I guess. I'd see it again just for the gore and the decent pacing. If you just want something bloody and stupid with some decent backgrounds, you can't really do worse than this. I guess I'll give it 2.5 stars just because it didn't really bore me, but it's certainly not better than average. Now on to the biggest film of the pre-summer season, Clash of the Titans. Yes, it is here, and it is disappointing. In the good category, the CGI is really good most of the time. The Kraken is damn impressive, and so is Pegasus. However, Medusa is pretty fucking lame in terms of her design. The best effects of the film are actually the effects surrounding Hades and his swarm of Furies. Fiennes was badass as Hades. Outside of that, everything in the film is either really stupid or just okay. Sam Worthington falls into the just okay category. The plot falls into the really stupid one. Can someone tell me why Zeus switches from good to bad and then back to good so many times? And honestly, if you've seen the movie already, how useless is Perseus' trek to the Stygian witches? He goes there just to find out that Medusa is the Kraken's weakness, when it's pretty clear that the ageless woman that's with him already knows about Medusa and her history. Why didn't she just immediately say, "Hey, I know about Medusa. She could probably kill the Kraken," at the beginning and save Perseus an entire army's worth of people? And how the fuck can Medusa actually kill the Kraken? Isn't he, like, stronger than the Titans and made from the flesh of a god? And can't only men enter her domain? Wouldn't that follow that only men can be affected, even though the film states that any living creature can be affected? That just doesn't make any sense. If women can't be affected, then that just opens so many plot holes. Am I taking this too seriously? Honestly, yes. The film doesn't take itself seriously, and it should have. Now, I haven't seen the first movie, and I'm sure it's really cheesy from what I've seen, but the remake is too cheesy. It's too poorly edited, and it's generally a mess outside of the creature effects and some of the landscape shots. It's also almost 2 hours long, and it feels like 2.5 hours. I'm sorry, but I have to give this movie 2 stars. It's this year's Terminator Salvation, a highly anticipated film that spit in the face of decent pacing and writing and instead just tried to overload us with CGI. But you know what? At least it wasn't Transformers 2.